This week on Arizona Illustrated, Alanna.
You know, as a kid growing up, I didn't see a lot of black artists in museums or hanging on gallery walls.
Footprints from the past.
You look at these tracks, you're looking at where somebody literally just walked across the landscape 23,000 years ago.
And the art of Adobe.
Plants and animals live and thrive in this landscape, but also how the landscape has been weaponized to make it uninhabitable for people that are migrating through it.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara, and we're here at Trail Dust Town, a longtime Tucson attraction with stores and restaurants and museums, all offering a trip back to the Old West. It was built in 1961, and its famous No Ties Allowed Pinnacle Peak restaurant opened their doors a year later. This year marks its 60th anniversary. The town is a great place for children. I certainly brought my girls here when they were young. Has a Ferris wheel, carousel, and even an old-time photo studio. You know, our first story is about a photographer. At the age of 47, Alanna Airitam decided to become an artist. She gave up a successful career in advertising to pursue photography full-time. Her photographs depict Black subjects in regal and dignified poses and settings. And her goal is to create work she didn't see represented growing up, and to share her truth with the world as she sees it.
You didn't use portage?
I don't.
And I'm looking towards.
It's become sort of therapeutic in a way for me.
Twist towards the camera just a tiny.
Or a way to sort of escape the madness of the world is to just go in the studio and make photos, you know? It like cures my depression, it does all of that.
So all you have to do is just say hit it and I'll be all over it. You know what I'm saying?
You're good right there. Like that.
Like
Yeah,
this?
yeah. Yeah,
Can
like
I?
that. Yep.
Normally, I don't do pictures.
Beautiful. I love that.
I think I want to make a couple of small adjustments to the light.
Alanna liked taking photographs of Black people, and it might be a little difficult here in Tucson to find the medium she chooses to work in.
Don't go backwards or forwards beyond that mark.
I'm gonna try now. I got
We'll
all
be good
this.
friends.
I got all this swag. Sometimes,
You have to try to
sometimes it get out of control. You know.
You contain it into this
Need
one.
somebody to- I felt that I should participate as much as I can so that she can do the quality work she truly desired.
I had the great pleasure of photographing Mr. Will Bonner.
You're not bragging, are you?
I mean, I'm only bragging as much as you brag. I just have a real deep love for his work and who he is as a person. If I'm just gonna do a portrait of someone and it's not really attached to any type of a project, then yeah, I try to make it loose and fun. You can do one of those. You can do,
I don't know all that.
you know, whatever you want to do. One of these, you want to creating that space allows for their personality to really come out.
I do look handsome.
You always look handsome. You don't like that one?
No, I like all of them. It's me.
It is you.
Okay.
We are currently in the Bernal Gallery at Pima West. I'm here today to photograph and sort of document the exhibition before it comes down. Like, I've always dabbled in art, even as a kid, but to do this as a career, to like leave my 20-year advertising career for this, that didn't start until I was like 47 years old because I just didn't see enough of this in my life. You know, as a kid growing up, I didn't see a lot of Black artists in museums or hanging on gallery walls, and they certainly didn't look like this if there was art made by Black people. The American Renaissance exhibition is me and Wayne Martin Belger. It's an interesting conversation to have with his work with the Second Amendment Project. We see the results of gun violence. And, you know, as a Black person in this country, I feel like a lot of that sort of aggression is pointed in this direction, right? And so it is interesting to have this work sort of side by side together or even across from each other. So this is the white privilege triptych. I did this right after George Floyd's death in 2020, and I was pretty angry. Called up a friend who lives in Amato and out in the desert and asked him if I could let this pig's head rot in his backyard for a little while. He was like, sure. This breaking down and this decay that happens over time doesn't seem to be affecting him, but affects everything around him. I want people to really fully experience what it is like to be the external that has to experience this all the time. You should really do some deep soul searching and look in the mirror and see how the privileges affect other people. This is a Crossroads series. This work really speaks to the sort of turning away, turning my back or turning our backs on ways that we have been mistreated. But I wanted them to feel empowered and like, I'm just not having that anymore. I'm gonna look over here. I'm looking towards something new, something different. I've welded these metal frames, sort of like boxes that they go inside of, and then they're covered with a resin, and they're really heavy. I try in all of my work to take the narrative from the beginning all the way to the end. The finishing of the pieces means a lot to me. This is an archival pigment print. It is mounted on a metal substrate called Dibond. I work with the sitters to create the portrait, and then it just kind of, it's on a digital card. Once I get the printout, then I get to actually put the signature on it, which is the varnish. It's all hand done. So each piece I touch before it ever gets seen or, you know, shown anywhere. It is nerve-wracking because you can blow a bunch of money in a very very quick moment. All you need is one dog hair to fly into it and you're done. This print, along with two others, are going to the Center for Creative Photography for their permanent collection.
Alanna and I saw each other across the room, and it was virtually instantaneous. And by the time we had a conversation, it was a done deal. I bought my first original piece of art when I was in college. Almost every piece of art I have, I know the artist. There's a story. There were periods that it was sufficient to just be surrounded by beauty. But I'm finding that now I am more attracted to what's being said. When I saw her work, I initially had a hard time even choosing. I just loved it in general. The images themselves were beautiful. I thought what she was saying in terms of who we as Black people are and how we have been left out of so much of the history, and combining those messages in her work was just so on point. We are so lucky in Tucson to have Alanna and a number of other artists. I sometimes get concerned that they'll move on and go other places because they're not recognized for the gems that they are. And that's why I want to be supportive, and I try to encourage other people to be supportive and view their work and buy their work. I want to keep them here.
Sort of a promise that I made to myself that, like, when I see these types of images put out about us, or this narrative that so often gets told about us, that I'll create something that is the truth, like my truth. Like this is my truth. We can't be what we don't see. I just don't want this happening to another Black kid growing up, or any kid growing up that doesn't really see themselves represented. You know, we should all be represented in some way. We all have a voice. We're all here.
I see beauty in the work of an artist.
Thank you.
You know,
Thanks, Will.
I mean, some people lie to people, but.
I appreciate you.
All right.
We got good shots.
A selection of Alanna's work will be on display at the University of Arizona's Center for Creative Photography starting April 16th. While we may be surrounded by depictions from our past, the Old West is a short time ago when compared to the history in our next story. This one takes us back 23,000 years. White Sands National Park is a majestic, windswept landscape about a 5-hour drive from Tucson. It's also where archaeologists, including U of A researchers, recently uncovered ancient human footprints from perhaps the first ever to walk across the Americas.
I really enjoy working in the Southwest, and working in the White Sands area in particular has been quite a remarkable experience for a variety of reasons. Just traveling out there, it's a beautiful area. Crossing the dunes, to me, always remind me of a sea of whipped cream, and particularly in the mornings, you can see the mountains off to the west lit up by the morning sun and the white dunes. It's a pleasure. It's quite an honor to be allowed to work out there. Ever since I can remember, I've always had an interest in the past in some way, shape, or form. And my particular interest is the archaeological record of the earliest people in the Americas, but also the geologic context. And we'd already been doing some work right in the area that turned out to be this archaeological site. And so when the tracks were discovered, that was some of the first evidence of the age and context of these tracks.
Yeah, Vance, I think the tracks are probably in this area here.
Yeah, I think you're right. The stratigraphy is almost identical. The tracks were found in stream deposits. This area, most of the area was in a lake, but on the east side of the basin, there were freshwater streams coming in off the mountains. Every time the stream would flood, it would bury some tracks, and then the people would come back later and make some more tracks, and then there would be another flood cycle. So there were a couple of ways of approaching this. One was to document the tracks that were already exposed, mapping them in considerable detail, excavating them. What you tend to see is a discoloration because the sediment filling the track will often be a slightly different color.
Seeing the footprints, it was the most amazing thing I think I have ever seen in my life. Putting together the idea that people had been there 6,000 to 8,000 years earlier than had been documented previously. And this isn't just a stray tool, a broken piece of rock, something that might be questionable. This is actual people's footprints, and footprints from mammoths, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves. Human beings were there when all of these humongous animals were walking this landscape. My moment of connection was when I was able to put my bare foot next to one of the footprints. And with permission, then I put my foot on the footprint itself, which fit pretty well. So about a women's size 8 shoe or a 39 or 38 in European size.
An interesting thing about this, in my experience in archaeology, is that what you're dealing with are literally moments in time. If you think about how long it takes to make a trackway, say, across my office, a couple of seconds. So you look at these tracks and you're looking at where somebody literally just walked across the landscape 23,000 years ago in the space of a couple of seconds. And it's quite remarkable when we first saw those. The peopling of the Americas is the last great migration in human history. The dating we have right now suggests that these footprints span time from about 23,000 years ago to about 21,000 years ago. And that's 10,000 years older than the oldest well-documented occupation, human occupation of North America, the Clovis people, named after a site, well-known site near Clovis, New Mexico. So it's a huge leap in many ways, a leap in time, a leap of imagination, that we have people living in the Americas 10,000 years earlier than Clovis.
It causes archaeologists to stop and think about what has been the primary paradigm, the idea that Clovis were the first people here in North America. As both an American Indian and an archaeologist, what I've been doing over most of my career has been acting as a liaison between the two schools and really trying to bring more American Indian issues, concerns, and voices into the practice of archaeology and to the interpretation of the archaeological record. Whether or not this will impact American Indian ideas about their history on the continent, it remains to be seen. Scientifically, this is further proof that the time depth, the deep time of American Indian occupation of North America is there.
This area where the footprints, where the tracks were found, the discovery was made due to wind erosion. So between the time they were first exposed until they're pretty much gone, it's just a few years. So this is a whole nother issue out there, is how to preserve them, how to interpret them.
We know that there are more discoveries to be found. Every time we look, we find something new. I went into archaeology to try to understand about people, to try to understand about who they were, about where they came from, and looking at these footprints wander off into the distance took me to that place in a way that no other discovery has ever made.
White Sands has given me the opportunity to begin to look really deeply into origins of Native Americans and Native American histories. The idea that we've added another 8,000 years to that deep history, it makes me smile and think about it. This is going to be one of those stories that people will be continuing to discuss. Hopefully, my name, the names of my fellow researchers, all of us involved in White Sands, will continue to be a part of the footnote of history.
In Arizona's hot and arid climate, Adobe is an ideal material for building homes and other structures. Rafa Esparza is an LA-based artist who learned how to make Adobe from his father, who was a bricklayer in Mexico. In collaboration with other artists featuring their work at MoCA Tucson, his work is a commentary on the use of environmental materials, border surveillance, and labor.
We're gonna just start from scratch. There are plenty of rocks here, but there is also like solidified clay. We could use like those chunks of clay. They'll soften up once they get wet. My name is Rafa Esparza, and I'm a visual artist based in Los Angeles. And it's usually you make like a longer kind of like tube with it. But if you hold it up and it holds its shape and it doesn't like crumble, then you know it has clay in it. I've been working predominantly with Adobe and collaborating with a group of students from U of A to build these like trapezoid-shaped bricks that'll be used to build like an Adobe rotunda that'll be used like a solar observation room here at MoCA Tucson. The recipe that my father taught me is one that people still use, like people still build with Adobe in his hometown. The way that I go about making Adobe is how I learned it from my father, who was a brick maker in Mexico, in Durango, Mexico, where he made bricks before he came up to the States in the 70s. It's still like a viable building material, so people still build their homes out of the material. And it's dirt that has between 25 to like 30% clay content, naturally already in the soil. They add horse dung, hay, or some kind of like grass fiber and water. But so all of this is like locally sourced. And then we'll do like maybe 4 wheelbarrows to create like a crater. It's a lot like baking. So you mix a lot of the ingredients while they're dry before you add the eggs or the water. And then we'll put some rubber boots on, stomp all of the material and mix it with our feet before we add the hay. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Beautiful. A lot of the artists have been having conversations about just like the inherent life of the Sonoran Desert. Thinking about how plants and animals live and thrive in this landscape, but also how the landscape has been weaponized to make it uninhabitable for people that are migrating through it. I wanted to kind of think about how we could also, as people that are surveilled, people that are criminalized, creating an intimate space that could be a place of refuge, a place of respite, to be able to gaze back at the sun without being harmed by its heat or blinded by its light. So this brown rotunda is being composed of all of the bricks that I've been building with the students that I've been working with over the last several weeks, as well as folks that showed up for the community Adobe Brick Making Day. What's interesting about bringing Adobe into a brutalist building like this is not only like the sort of material differences. When you're in an Adobe dwelling, you're literally like surrounded by earthen walls. It's interesting to bring in this material because I think it also brings a conflict of cultures that uphold these kinds of like architectures and cultures that have been displaced in these landscapes, right? And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in this conflict. I hope that it could also inform how people relate to the natural landscape here in Tucson and beyond.
Rafa's Adobe house will be on display at MoCA Tucson until March 13th. And now our final story, a performance by SHE-PHI, an all-girl step group from Holiday Magnet Elementary School in Tucson.
S is for sophistication.
The H is for humanity.
The E for our education.
And the Phi is willing to go above and beyond all walks of life to be successful. This is why I chose SHE-PHI. All right now.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share stories from this and previous episodes. And like us on Facebook, where you can watch stories, comment, and share your own story ideas. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara, and we'll see you next time.